Hey now, it's Brace for Impact, and I'm your host, Mike Gilbert, and I'm going solo on that ass, but it's still the same. We're talking Impact Wrestling. So, as you can tell, or if you're watching this on Patreon, as you can see, I am in a hotel room. I don't have my microphone. I don't have my lighting rig. I don't have my headphones. I don't have any of that stuff. So, this is going to sound a little bit different. So, I do apologize for the audio slash video quality of this episode, but I still wanted to crank some content out, while I'm on the road. And I'm sure you guys noticed that I was not on the show last night. Scott Edwards, my homie, Scott E Wrestling, jumped in for me, so I really appreciate him. I'm actually in his neck of the woods. I'm in Massachusetts, and I'll talk more about that in a little bit. But I actually did want to do the show last night, but I just could not make it. I could not stay awake. And we'd planned ahead to have Scott on, and I was gonna try to do like a run-in, and I really wanted to stay up, but man, I was on the road slash in the air in airports traveling for like 20 hours overnight from Tuesday to Wednesday. So I left Honolulu at 5 o'clock on Tuesday in Honolulu. I'm in Massachusetts right now. That's 6 hours ahead of Honolulu. So I start on Tuesday, but I actually get to the airport 2 hours early because we have to do some official military stuff. So I'll talk about that in a little bit too. And so we get there a couple hours early, and then we fly into Dallas Fort Worth, and I think that was like a 7-8 hour flight, something like that. And we had a 4.5 layover in Dallas. And I really tried to get a nap into Dallas, but I just could not. It was just too noisy where we were at. We were in a private, like, secure location, but it wasn't so private. There was a ton of people there. And so we're there for like 4.5 hours. And then we have to fly from Dallas to Boston. And again, no sleep on the plane. So we'll get into Boston, and we have to do our official military stuff there. And then I go get my rental car. That takes forever because my unit didn't secure me a rental car in time. So I had to secure it myself. So I had to wait in line. I had to do all that stuff. It takes forever to get the car. And then I'm at Logan International Airport, and I get my rental car, and it's, at this point, it's like 5 p.m. on Wednesday night. And as if anybody has ever been to the East Coast or been to Boston, you would know that is rush hour at this time. So it's nothing but bumper to bumper traffic. Now keep in mind, I've been up for a long time at this point. And so it takes me almost 2 hours to get to my hotel just outside of Lowell, Massachusetts. It's like, 35 miles, maybe 40 miles, but it took almost 2 hours to get here. And checked into my hotel, and I ended up passing out at about 8 p.m. and I woke up at 3 a.m. yesterday morning. And so needless to say, by the time, 11:30 p.m. came around last night, I was already asleep. So I really do appreciate JD and Scott covering for me. But I'm in my hotel. I ain't got nothing to do for a few hours, so I got up this morning and I watched Impact, and I enjoyed the show, and I'll get into that in a little bit. So what am I doing in Massachusetts? Well, we had an active duty member from my unit pass away, unfortunately, a young person, and it was really sad. And I was basically, when an active duty member passes away outside of their home area, they have to fly the body to the home, and they need and it has to get military honors every step of the way. So me and the two escorts, which were the members' brothers, we're in full service dress, blues, and each time the casket was loaded and unloaded, we had to be there in formation, rendering a salute and making sure that we provided full military honor. So we did that in Honolulu, got to Dallas, we did it there 2 times, unloading and loading, and then whenever we got to Logan International, we did it there too. So, and we have a funeral this weekend. So I'm not here for a fun trip. It's really really sad, but everybody in the airports and everybody has been taking really good care of me and my team here. So I'm proud and honored to be able to do something like this. It sucks that we have to do something like this, but it's important to provide the dead the respect that they deserve. And so I'm, real proud that I was able to be the one to do this. So, but yeah, I am not here for a fun reason, but I am trying to make the best of it. Yesterday, I actually got to go. I had some extra time, so I actually drove to Salem, Massachusetts, because I'm very much into the witch trials. Like I'm not a I'm not a witch or anything like that, but I do. I'm a big fan of American history, and that was just such a crazy, wild, and dark time in our country's history. That was actually before we were even a country. And so I went, took a look around, went to the memorial, and I went to a couple of the houses, like the John Brown house and other stuff like that, and just kind of walked around the area, took in the sights. I was only down there a couple hours because I didn't have a ton of time, but that was really cool. And then after dinner last night, I met up with a friend of the show. He's been a co-host here before, a longtime supporter of ours. You recognize him, God Illa. He does the intro music for our main show called A Game, and and he's been a long time. He's subscribed back in the day on Fight Game Media, and he came over and he's a subscriber to this Patreon. I've been a friend of mine, been in our chat, and it's so weird that I have these people that I've only met over the internet, but I still consider them friends, even though we've never met in person. But I think when you finally meet the person in person, now it becomes like official, like you're like homies at this point. So we've only been internet friends up until this point, and then last night we got a chance to sit down. He actually came. He lives about 40 minutes away from here, and he actually made the drive over. And we met up at a pizza place outside my hotel, and we just sat there and shot the shit for like an hour, man. So it was so cool to meet Illa Jonte. It was so cool to meet him in person and get to know him a little bit. And we did talk some wrestling. We talked some Impact. We'll just talk about life and shit like that. And that was a real fun thing to do. It was an awesome conversation. I'm just really happy and really proud that I was able to meet somebody from like our little like wrestling fan universe. Sometimes that doesn't always get to happen. But that was the second time I was able to meet someone. I met Nanzo before that. Me and him met up at a New Japan show years ago during the pandemic. And so to be able to meet Illa, that was just exciting for me. It was I'm real happy that I was able to do that, and that was a lot of fun. And we actually got to recreate there's a Reddit called Dads and Rappers, and it's like where these old white guys take pictures of the rappers with their dumb faces, the dads, their dumb faces. And so we were able to recreate one of those pictures. And so I posted that on Twitter last night. So that was a lot of fun. So thank you, Illa, for making the drive out here to meet up with me. And all you guys, man, if I end up in one of your towns, just let me know, man. I'd love to meet up and have a coffee or, get some food or something like that and just shoot the shit and talk life. Talk about more important things than even pro wrestling, man. But that was a lot of fun. So now on to Impact, man. Impact, there's a lot of like news and stuff happening in and around Impact. The first thing is Sami Callihan. His contract is expiring. So today's the 29th. His contract expires tomorrow. He then becomes a free agent. And hold on, let me get a swig of water for the working man. Swig of water. But he's going to be a free agent here pretty soon. And part of me is sad about that, but part of me, like, I'm okay with it. Like, I understand. I think this is a guy that's been, I think he needs a fresh scenery. I think he's been a bit unmotivated lately. And I would say within the last year, since he came back from his injury, he had a feud with Moose. And then after that, nothing really happened. He's had a couple things here and there. He started a tag team with Rich Swann recently. I didn't really care for his I think the OVE thing was fun while it lasted, but this is a former world champion, and he never really, he ever since he got injured and then he come back, he had gained a lot of weight. He got real heavy, and you could tell he just wasn't himself. I think he needs to take some time away and go figure it out. Make sure he still wants to do this. Make sure he still wants to be a top attraction pro wrestler, which is what he was in Impact. Not a major draw or anything, but he was always kind of a main event guy. It was always kind of a big deal. So but he just has not been lately. And I can see why Impact would let him hit free agency. I'm sure there was a negotiation. I'm sure he had his price, and Impact had what they were willing to pay him, and they're probably quite a bit far apart. And so maybe he needs to go figure it out for a while, and see if he can get catch on somewhere else, or get back out there on the indie scene and hustle. There were some rumors that WWE was interested. That's one of those things where the talent will leak that, and in hopes that it gets back to Impact. And I think in this situation, Impact probably knew better, because almost immediately, Sami is on Twitter saying that he's going to be taking independent bookings and that his schedule is wide open. I'm sure he wanted to go to WWE. I'm sure he would like to go to AEW. I just don't know that the interest is there, and I could be wrong about that. I hope I'm wrong about that, because I think Sami's really good. I think he gets a bad rap. I've been a fan of his. I've enjoyed a lot of his matches, and the one match in particular kind of brought me back to Impact full time was his match at Slammiversary 2018 against the Pentagon. I still love that match. It's one of my favorite matches in Impact history, and it's kind of really what brought me back. Like, okay, like these guys are doing this kind of stuff. I'm in, man. I dig this. Um, so I hope it works out for him. He really needs to decide how serious he wants to take his career, and if he wants to, get himself back into shape and come back and come back to the company. I think they would welcome him with open arms. But as of right now, it's probably best that he goes away for a while and then recenters, refocuses, and then tries to make a return down the road. And also, and I talked about this on the YouTube. I went immediately and I just grabbed my cell phone and I did a YouTube live thing, because I'm testing out all of our capabilities. PCO also, he's gonna hit free agency at the end of October, or so we think. So he gave his notice that he would not be staying. Him and Impact had a negotiation, and so Pat LaPrade was the original releaser of this information, and he said sources close to the situation, which completely meant that PCO told him, and which was then validated by PCO going on to Pat LaPrade's podcast and essentially confirming everything that Pat LaPrade was saying. And he was on the podcast, and he said that they had started negotiations back at Impact 1000, and they were apart on money. And then all of a sudden, they were hoping to get a deal done by the Memphis tapings, but had been no discussions between the two parties, and so essentially Impact had kind of gone quiet on the negotiations. So he said that he was going to go ahead and give his notice. So he gave his notice, and unfortunately for him, and I think unfortunately for Sami Callihan, WWE released a bunch of talent, and what that did was flood the market with new free agents. And now all of a sudden they are no longer as valuable as they thought they were whenever they started their negotiation window. So these new WWE free agents, what it's doing, it's driving their prices down, because now they have to, like, hey, they wanted a certain number. Well, Impact's like, well, yeah, but we have all these other guys over here. We can just bring them in. And so now you need to come down on your figure a little bit. PCO said that Impact is, there's been talk that Impact is interested in bringing in some of those guys. And he named specifically, Mustafa Ali, Dolph Ziggler, and Matt Riddle. Those three names that they were interested in. And of course, that hit the aggregate sites. Everybody's saying, "Oh, are they going to bring in all three?" Oh, Impact is bringing in all three of these guys. That's not what he said. He said that hold on. So when asked if WWE releases have influenced Impact's decision to negotiate, PCO said, "Of course it did. Already there were names mentioned by people close to the office. The names that were circulating were Riddle, Ziggler, and Mustafa Ali. These are the three names that supposedly Impact would try to sign." And so that's that would try to sign. Yeah, I'm sure Impact would like to try to sign them. I'm sure they're going to talk to them and negotiate with them. Those people still have to say yes, and they have to agree on money. And what that would look like, I don't know. So it says, so he submitted his resignation, and I believe that was a negotiation tactic on his part. And then so he submits his resignation, and now all of a sudden there's all these WWE free agents. Now he's no longer as valuable as he once was, And so now Impact is in the power position because I'll be honest, I don't think AEW and WWE are going to be calling PCO. The guy is beat up. He's in his mid 50s, and his character doesn't work everywhere. His character works here. He was thinking he had more value there, and so now these other guys are coming in, drives his value down, and now all of a sudden, we get to this point. He says there's been some kind of movement since I submitted my resignation. It seems that everyone has realized that PCO is leaving. It reopened the discussions a bit. Therefore, it puts me in a position now where I can take the best offer possible. There are many things to consider. How are you going to be used? How much are they willing to invest in a character like mine, which is a character that's extremely expensive because sometimes it takes pyro, sometimes it takes a coffin, sometimes it takes a hearse. It takes a lot of creativity, and it would be the equivalent of in another company. So, there is a lot to his character. So he submitted his resignation, which I fully believe was a negotiation tactic, and it seems like it might have worked a little bit. So now they're back in discussions. I think he's staying. I think Sami is going to go away for a while, and I think he needs to. I think PCO showed his cards and might have been bluffing a little bit. I think he wants to stay. I think Impact wants to keep him, and now they know everybody is serious. And I think that he's eventually going to, negotiate a deal before that October 30 deadline. And if so, I think that's good news for Impact fans. He gets a bad rap too. A lot of people don't like him. I think there's some people in the Voices Wrestling Discord saying, "Oh, well, you guys just have low standards. You fucking snob." That's not that it. That's not that at all. Some people like what they like. PCO doesn't attract everybody, but I fucking like him, and so do a lot of other people. I think he's an interesting guy. Not everybody can be the slap the thigh, kick out of everything, sell, no sell, no sell, no sell. Oh, now we're selling again. Like that doesn't work for every character. This guy is a different, unique character, and he works at Impact. The guy is fucking over. He's awesome, and he takes a lot of punishment. And I just have a ton of respect for the guy, and I'm a big fan of his. And if that means that my standards are lower than yours, then go fuck yourself. I don't care. That doesn't bother me at all. If I like something that you don't like, that's fine. You don't have to like it, dipshit. But anyway, so that's pretty much it for the Impact news. So they did announce that Leon Slater was going to be in those UK tapings, which is pretty cool. He's a guy that can do a Swanton 450, something like that. So that's pretty cool. New matches for Bound for Glory. Sorry, I almost forgot. So the main event has been announced. It's going to be Josh Alexander and Alex Shelley, which we talked about last week. We have Will Ospreay versus Speedball, which we talked about last week. And also they announced Mickey James versus Trinity. I think that's going to be a big match. I don't think that's going to be your 5-star classic that the other two ones are, but I think it's going to be a big match for female wrestling, and I think it's going to be in a prominent position. So that's really cool. They announced that tonight, and then we'll get into the recap. Also, Chris Sabin versus Kenta. It looks like it's going to be for the X Division title. Now, Kenta made the challenge. Well, kind of made the challenge. A video package aired, and he didn't really say anything. It was just highlights of him after Sabin's match was over. And so I don't know if he made the challenge or whoever pushed the button in the office made the challenge, but the challenge was made, and it is now official. It's going to be Chris Sabin versus Kenta. And that's an interesting match. I hope we get good Kenta and not lazy Kenta, which is what you get in New Japan. So if we get, Kenta from about, 12 years ago, kicking up the heat, I think that would be awesome. Chris Sabin is a legend. He can have a great match with just about anybody. He doesn't take a night off. Kenta does. Kenta does take nights off. His body is beat to hell. So, but his match with Josh Alexander earlier this year, I thought was pretty awesome. So hopefully we get that version of Kenta and not the one that we typically see in New Japan, where he's just kind of stalling for time, trying to get heat, and then kicks into gear a little bit for like a couple minutes and then does a screw job finish. So hopefully that's not the Kenta that we see. We see good Kenta. That's pretty much it for the Impact news. We'll go ahead and talk about the show. This show was fun. It was mostly okay. It wasn't a great episode by any means. There's a little bit of a hangover period after Impact 1000 because those shows were just so damn good. These obviously we're not going to live up to that. So we're kind of like back in regular business mode. But we'll go ahead and get started here. The X Division Championship match, we had Chris Sabin defeating Alan Angels. This match was good. Chris Sabin is great. I think Alan Angels is improving. I think I like his character, and I think he might have something with it. I just don't know that he's going to make a ton of money with it. But he's going to be a good kind of mid to lower tier, like mid card, lower card. We might see him get a digital media title down the road. We might see him get an X Division run, like a quick one. I don't think he's ever going to be like a major star, and that's okay. Not everybody's going to be, but he's a good worker, and I thought they had a pretty good match here. It wasn't really all that heated because, I think everybody in the building and everybody watching on TV knew exactly who was going to win the match. So, which is fine, you get that. So, but I did enjoy the match. I thought it was pretty good. And then afterwards, that's when the Kenta vignette was revealed, and that's going to be his opponent for Bound for Glory. And then Alex Shelley cut a promo about being the face of the company and promises to give Josh Alexander his best shot. This was a good promo by Shelley. He's an underrated promo, man. I think I really like him. And I say that every single week, but he just continues to impress me as the world heavyweight champion. He has elevated his game as a star. So I really dig it. Guys, I'm really sorry for this lighting. Let me see. Okay. Yeah, this lighting is brutal. So if you're watching this on the feed on Patreon, I do apologize. Thankfully, I think we have the audio, and I hope the audio is good too. I cannot hear what it sounds like right now. And next we get Rhino defeating Gut Check winner Jack Price. So they bring him back Gut Check, and they're making it sound like it's this big deal. But look at what happens when you win Gut Check. You're a job guy, which is what happened to Jack Price and Shogun Jackson Stone, which I think we've only seen him a couple of times. But Gut Check come back to the UK. We'll see. We'll see where that gets you guys if you win Gut Check. But they're trying to rebuild Rhino. I think they're building him for a match with Macklin. So after the match, Steve Macklin attacked Rhino. Rhino fought back, and Macklin bailed after eating a gore. And then we go back to Tasha Steelz. She's in the back, and she's approached by Deonna Purrazzo. And they just kind of had a little quick thing back and forth about forming a tag team. So it looks like they'll probably get an immediate title shot because, as you guys know, the only thing you need to do to get an Impact Knockouts tag team title shot is to be a tag team. So they just formed. They're very likely to get a tag team title shot, probably on the pre-show Bound for Glory. But I like this team. I hope they win the titles. You know what? Why not? Switch it up a little bit. And then Uemura and Joe Hendry, Joe Ya, they come out for their goodbye ceremony. Everybody's sad. Hendry tries to say they should enjoy the times they had together. Yuya thanked the audience, and then he was interrupted by the Rascals. The Rascals then mocked Yuya for being fired. And then Santino Marella came out and booked the Rascals versus Joe Ya with the caveat that if Joe Ya wins, Uemura can remain in Impact, thus completely defeating the Feast or Fired stipulation from last week. But that was fine. I mean, we go to the match, and then this was a good match, by the way. I thought this was the best version of Joya. They did a lot of their comedy stuff, but they actually really kicked it up a notch and did some pretty impressive moves. And Yuya was great, as one would expect. And the Rascals are just awesome. They're awesome little shithead heels. If I had to describe their character in one word, it'd be shithead. But they really good match. I think it was like 10 minutes long. The Rascals won. They obviously ref distractions, spray paint to the eyes, and then a roll up, and they sent Uemura packing. And I was told earlier this week that Uemura is in fact already in Japan and should be starting back up in New Japan soon. So his excursion was over. It wasn't exactly what I wanted it to be, but when Impact sends, or when New Japan sends people to excursion, they're meant to be essentially like job talent for that promotion. It's like kind of how they pay their dues. It's a really interesting way that New Japan does it, but it works for that company because look at all the talents that have come out of there that have gone on to become big stars, especially after excursion. Like Jay White was in Ring of Honor for a year, and he was essentially having these good undercard matches, but he was losing everybody. And then, we had Uemura in Impact, and then we had, Yoda Suji, I think, was in the UK, and they send people to CMLL sometimes, and that's just kind of part of their culture and part of what they do. So I thought that was it was really cool to have Uemura. I hope they send somebody else, but I hope Impact uses the next person kind of like the way they've been using Kevin Knight, which is underneath babyface, having really good matches but losing. I like that better than what they did with Uemura. Even though I did like the Joe Ya thing, it didn't last that long. But I kind of hoped to see him have more of those style matches than he ended up having. Next, Jim Miller catches up with Giselle backstage, and she said that once she wins her match against Trinity tonight, she'll be heading to Bound for Glory to challenge Trinity for the championship. Turns out she made that part up. And then Diener cuts a promo about having to deal with liars such as Young, Callihan, and Alan Angels. Diener says that Khan will be scoring off with Alexander in the future. That's next week. I thought we were done with the design, and it's like herpes. It just keeps coming back. I just don't know. I just don't understand what the appeal is here. And I'll never understand. I know that he's friends with a lot of people there. He seems like a good person. He's a good promo. It's just the characters, the gimmick is done. Nobody cares. I'd like to get the quarter hour ratings to see when Diener's on what it actually looks like, because I get the feeling people change the channel. And it's not an indictment on him. It's just the gimmick is done. It's over. Nobody cares about the design. But he's still around. Memphis Street Fight, Tommy Dreamer and Heath defeat Kenny King and Sheldon Jean. If you have not been able to watch Impact just yet, you're waiting for me to talk about it, and you need a match to skip, this is the one. Look, I don't want to make fun. Yes, I do. Yeah, actually, I do want to make fun. So, Tommy Dreamer, I love him. He seems like a great person. Kind of like what I said about Diener. He's a legend in the business, but I just don't need to see him wrestle all that often. And every week is too much. And I understand he's a digital media champion, so we're going to see him more. But I just didn't really think that this match was all that good. I think Kenny King and Sheldon Jean tried their best. Garbage type match. They had the plunder and they had the ladders and they did the typical spots. I just was not into it. I just didn't care. And I don't care to ever see Tommy Dreamer and Heath tagging again. Heath, whose contract comes up pretty soon too, I don't think he's sticking around either. But if you liked it, more power to you. I just did not. I didn't care for this match at all. And I assume that a lot of the people listening to this or watching this on Patreon probably didn't really like it much either. After the match was over, Crazy Steve attacked Dreamer. It's so weird. So Steve, he came out, he was dressed as like one of the stagehands, like a member of the ring crew. And he didn't have his face paint on, and he looked like a regular person. That was just so weird to see him look like a normal person. He looked totally different. And then he had to rip his shirt off and mess up his hair. That way people knew that it was him. It was just like, all we were missing really was the face paint. But he looked like, it was like Clark Kent. So he messes up his hair a little bit, and he hits him a bunch of times with the briefcase. And, because he did win a shot at the Digital Media Championship. And so it looks like they'll be doing something with Steve and Dreamer. I hope Steve wins the title. I like the new character. I like where they're going with it. Dreamer's fine as a transitional guy. They'll do a plunder match. I'm guessing it'll be like a Monsters Ball or something like that. I hope it's not a Bound for Glory. I hope they just do it for an episode of TV. Because I don't think they need to devote that much time on a pay-per-view to these two guys. But we'll see, maybe turning point. Maybe they can do it in the UK. That would be cool. But I don't really think that I need a prolonged feud between these two. I think we need to get the belt over on Steve and let Steve run with it for a little bit, doing his Crazy Steve gimmick, the darker Crazy Steve. I dig it, man. I like what he's doing. And then Ace and Bay, they're backstage, and they're excited about their briefcase and the fact that the Rascals can no longer run from them. I hope this means that we get a regular standard tag match, or if they want to throw in a gimmick like a ladder or something like that, TLC, or they call it Full Metal Mayhem in Impact. If they want to do something like that between the Rascals and ABC, I'm glad. It's great. Just don't make it a 3 or 4 way. But nothing that they did tonight made it seem like they were going in the direction of a 3 or 4 way. So I am excited about that. So hopefully it's just straight up Rascals versus ABC. If they want to do a regular match, I'm cool. If they want to do a ladder or Full Metal Mayhem or whatever, I'm cool with that too. But or maybe Steel Cage would be nice if they bring back the Steel Cage. They haven't done that in a long time. But yeah, they don't need to make it a multi-team match. But so they're back there. They're excited. John Skyler shows up after they say they need to put the good hands to bed in a fans revenge strap match. So that's the old thing, the gimmick they did with Jeff Jarrett years ago. Jeff Jarrett and Samoa Joe. I think it was right before. It was like right before the Joe Angle match. I think if I'm remembering it correctly. If not, you guys can correct me. But they did it was a main event between Jarrett and Joe, and I think in the next month Jarrett was going to challenge for the title, or he might have been the champion. I can't remember. So, but they had the match, and Joe beat him, and then he went on to main event the next show, and then they ended up starting the Angle and Joe feud right after that. So that was a really fun match. Every time he left the ring, now fans were around the ring and they would smack the shit out of him with the straps. I really enjoyed that match, and it's a fun gimmick to bring back. So I'm glad that they're doing it. And if you're gonna beat the shit out of somebody, beat the shit out of Skyler, who's worthless. I'm kidding, he's not worthless. He's probably he's actually a pretty good worker. Kind of funny that during the thing, Ace Austin, who was really short, made a short joke at John Skyler. So that's how short John Skyler is. But so Skyler says his partner Jason Hotch is not around because of the birth of his new baby. So congrats, Jason Hotch. ABC, that's fine. Go find a partner from anyone on the roster. So you know what? I read the spoilers, but I didn't retain any of the information because I do not remember who his partner ended up being. Next, we got Jonathan Gresham defeating a Speedball Mike Bailey. So this is like the 30th match, I think, this year between these guys. They've wrestled so many times, and the matches are always pretty good, but there's no heat because nobody cares. It's like hey, it's just two good wrestlers having a professional wrestling match. Okay, but there's no heat. So, and they're not really doing anything overtly spectacular. They have a couple cool moves here and there, and the finishes always end up kind of like abruptly and boring. And they were all leading up to this moment where Gresham has been teasing a heel turn for months, and we finally get here, and his subtle heel turn is that he used the tights in a roll-up to get the victory. Not a roll-up. I think he was like covering up, and then he tried to pin him twice, couldn't get him, and then he just yanked the tights and then was able to get the pin. I felt like the finish was weak. I understand why they're doing it. If you're going to cheat, he should have just went all the way. He should have hit a low blow, should have, used the chair or something, but instead it was just the tights. And I guess that fits the Gresham character. I just kind of was like, I don't know, if I'm like a regular viewer watching home, I'm just like, I just don't care. I like Gresham. I love Speedball. But Speedball taking a loss right before he's heading into his match with Ospreay, that's a choice. Not something I would have done. I would have given him some momentum to build up that match. But we all know he's losing, so who gives a shit? I mean, it's just going to be it's going to be a spectacular match. But and a lot of people are going to be watching that who don't really watch the regular show. So, hold on. Swig of water for the working man. And so I don't know. I wouldn't have had Speedball lose here, but they've been telling the story with Gresham, so they had to capitalize on it, I guess. No, timing is weird here. I would not have done it. But I guess wins and losses only care to a person like me. That's my inner Jim Cornette coming out. So, yeah, I don't know. This match was whatever. Next, we go to Moose talks to Brian Myers about being excited to hold a briefcase that grants him a world championship opportunity. Says he wants to have a singles match next week. So I'm excited. Hopefully this means that Moose and Myers break up, but Myers was right by his side. If Myers wants to be his manager, I'm cool with that. I can see Myers being a manager here. Moose heads back into the singles ranks, so good for him. And then next, Steve Macklin approaches Bully Ray backstage and wants his help taking out Rhino. Bully says he's known Rhino for 25 years and talked to him, and then Macklin said that Bully had gone soft. So I had been thinking that Macklin and Bully would probably wrestle at Bound for Glory, but it looks like Bully at least is going to be in the gauntlet match, gauntlet for the gold, which is where he debuted last year. Maybe Macklin will be in it, and maybe Macklin will defeat Bully, because last year Bully defeated Macklin in the match. But they're obviously going to lead to a Macklin and Bully feud. That's where this whole thing has been heading. So we'll see. We'll see how that works out. And then we get to the main event. We got to Trinity versus Giselle Shaw. You know, with Trinity, I love her. Everything about her, she's great. Matches, when she's in longer matches, she struggles. I would keep her matches a little bit shorter. Not that this match was bad. It wasn't a bad match. I thought it was pretty good. But with her and her matches, I would say less is a little bit more. Giselle Shaw is great. She did a great job. The match was fine. It dragged a little bit in spots for me. But that's okay. If you guys thought it was tremendous, that's okay too. I didn't think it was a bad match, so I thought it was just good. I thought it was kind of beneath the standard of a typical Impact main event that we've been getting lately. There wasn't a ton of heat and excitement, but Trinity is over, man. And when she comes out that curtain, man, she looks like a big time star. She looks great. Everything about her is great. I really like her, and I really love the fact that she's an Impact. And so it was cool. She got the victory here. And then after the match, Mickie James saved Trinity from an attack, and they fought them off. And Mickie grabbed the mic. She did her whole crying gimmick about how proud she is of Trinity, and then ultimately challenged her to a match at Bound for Glory, which we will now be getting. So we get that match. I was wondering where that leaves Jordynne Grace, but Jordynne Grace is going to be in the gauntlet, so that's cool. So she'll be in the gauntlet for the gold, or the Call Your Shot gauntlet. I get those mixed up. They have too many gauntlets, but the Call Your Shot gauntlet. So she's gonna be in that. So which is cool. But man, we got a big 4-match, so 5 matches now announced for Bound for Glory with the Call Your Shot gauntlet. So so they've got the main event with Alexander and Shelley. We got Ospreay and Speedball. We got Trinity and Mickie. We got oh gosh, what was the other one? I know Kenta and Sabin. Most likely we're gonna get the tag title match that we're all thinking we're gonna get, and then the Call Your Shot gauntlet, and then probably the Knockouts tag. So I think 7 matches. I think we're fine there. And then whatever else, just throw it on the pre-show or save it for a Turning Point or Final Resolution or whatever they're going to do after that. But I think we got a lot booked for Bound for Glory, so I'm excited for that. I am going to try and do a go live after Bound for Glory, and have something for you guys, and hopefully have a guest. We'll see. I don't know what that's going to look like, but I hope I'm able to pull that off. It's going to be fun episode of Impact. Lots of news. And I hope the audio was not too bad. I hope this video is not too bad. I can see one of the hotel beds behind me, and the lighting isn't great. It's not up to standards, but I still wanted to be able to get some content for you guys. So yeah, I'm on the road, and if anything else breaks, if news breaks, if something goes down, I'll try to just hop right back on here and talk about it, man, because I'm going to be spending a lot of time in this hotel. I got a kind of a not a pack. I have some like one thing every day with the ceremonies, but on Sunday I have a free day, so I'm probably going to head to Boston and go check it out. I'm going to go check out Paul Revere. I want to see the Boston Massacre side. I want to see the Boston Tea Party side. I want to go check all of that. But at any time if something breaks out, I'll either go live on YouTube or I'll just come right here on Patreon and try to knock something out. But let me know what you think of the show. Drop us a comment. You have this YouTube video that you're watching right now. It might eventually get released on like it's unlisted on YouTube. So it's a private link for you guys. Eventually, I'll probably unlist it at some point. I don't know when that's going to be. So until then, if you guys like it, man, or if you guys drop some comments in there, hit the like button, let me know what you think. Or on the Patreon, if you're just listening to this, because I'm going to post the audio too. Let me know what you think. If I got something wrong, please feel free to tell me, Dobby. I know you always got me. But hey, guys, thank you for the show. And until next time, mahalo.